Welcome, everyone. Today we will be discussing the 12 demographics within Pierce County, Washington. We will also discuss the mental health impact of these 12 demographics. These demographics will range from gender differences within the workplace, poverty levels, along with education levels, and more. The purpose of this training is to educate and inform everyone from the 253 Therapy and Consult study about the current and mental health impacts of Pierce County, Washington residents and the state itself. We will primarily focus on the demographic portion of the mental health impacts and how significant the impact has become, along with the inequitable treatment and services these demographics encounter. So let's begin. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention of 2023 have defined mental health services as such. Mental health includes our emotional and psychological and social well being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress related to others and make healthy choices. Again, this definition is provided by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention of 2023. Moving forward, we'll talk about the mental health impact in general. Center for Disease Control and Prevention of 2023 statistical report defines about 1 in 25 U.S. adults have a serious mental health illness that can be schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression. More than 1 in 5 U.S. adults have been diagnosed with a mental illness. Causes can be adverse childhood experiences, also known as ACEs, including trauma or history of abuse. This can be child abuse, sexual assault, or witnessing a violent act. Experiences related to other ongoing chronic illnesses or biological influences, chemical imbalances, alcohol, drug use, feeling solitude or separation as well. Mental health and Washington in itself. In Washington, 300,000 adults have serious mental illness according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness of 2021, also known as NAMI. Over a million Washington residents, adults primarily, have reported a mental health condition of more than five times that of Tacoma. 46.3% of adults residing in Washington reported symptoms of anxiety or depression in February 2023. Moving forward, we're going to talk about mental health in Pierce County, Washington in general. As you may have discovered, Pierce County is one of the most main counties within Washington state. It's composed of different services dedicated to helping individuals with mental health disorders and substance use disorders. The agencies within Pierce County, Washington have often encountered obstacles such as payments for treatment, meeting the needs of health provisions, and throughout the height of the pandemic in general, such as COVID-19. According to the Pierce County Human Services of 2021, Pierce County is home to a dedicated group of mental health and substance use providers. Many agencies continue to pursue evidence-based practices and improve care despite challenges presented by changes in payment models, increased needs of behavioral services, and the COVID epidemic. The rate of serious mental illnesses, SMI, in Pierce County is 24% higher than the state average itself. Pierce County, Washington, according to the United States Census Bureau, is over 900,000. According to this bureau, it is 900,000 over. It is important to comprehend the number of the residents within the county. There is a progressive number of residents within the Pierce County that are impacted by mental illness, that are reporting a mental health disorder, symptoms of mental illness, or have been diagnosed. Also, keep in mind those who are not reporting their mental health or do not know that they have one. The contents are the list of the 12 demographics that we will be discussing in length throughout this presentation, such as age, gender difference, race and ethnicity, minority barriers to mental health, employment and unemployment, education level, poverty level, marital status, and couples therapy, household factors, and influences politics, veterans, and youth. Let's begin. The first one will be age. Throughout these presentations, I will be utilizing the Census Reporter data as cited by the United States Census Bureau. The Census Reporter 2022 shows the current demographic data of Pierce County residents ranging from ages 0 to 18 plus years old. As observed, Pierce County residents ages 30 to 39 years old rate the highest in age population, while 80 years old residents reside at the lowest. Overall, persons ages 18 to 64 years old rate 64% account for the highest population age range. Pierce County's demographic age. There are 4 categories of age reported by the United States Census Bureau of 2023. Pierce persons under 5 years of age represent 6% of the Pierce County, Washington community, and persons residing 18 years and younger represent 22.7%. Pierce County residents ages 65 years old and older represent 14.9%. The female population represent almost half of the Pierce County population at 49.7%. So now that we have an understanding of the age population within Pierce County in general, what is the connection between age and the mental health in general, and how does it affect mental health? Well, according to the Johns Hopkins Medicine 2023, an estimated 26% of Americans ages 18 and older, about 1 in 4 adults suffer from a diagnosable mental health disorder each year. 9.5% of Americans adults ages 18 and over experience depression, major depression, bipolar disorder, or any other form of disorder. 18% of people ages 18 to 54 each year have an anxiety disorder each year, such as OCD. Associated risk factors can be biological, they can be life experience, commonly trauma, and family history of mental health disorder. Moving forward, as you get older, for people over the age of 60, Global Health estimates 2019, 14% of adults ages 60 years and older are diagnosed with a mental disorder. Common diagnoses are depression and anxiety. These also come with risk factors, such as exposure to adversity, reduction in functionality as a result of psychological anguish, loneliness in living conditions, different forms of abuse, unfortunately by the people that take care of them, such as their caregivers. The World Health Organization reported in 2023, 1 in 6 older adults experience abuse, often by their carers. Next topic is gender differences. Gender differences within Pierce County, Washington are almost accounting for equality in its statistical approach. For male and female population, males in Pierce County accumulate to 50.3%, while females come up somewhat short at 49.7%. Though in mental health, women are often diagnosed much prevalently than men, females have a higher prevalence of self-reported mental health than men at 14%, compared to men at 9%. According to the National Institute of Health in 2024, depression, anxiety, and eating disorders are more common in women than men, and with 1 in 10 women in the United States reported symptoms that suggested they experienced an episode of major depression in the last year, according to a CDC study completed by Zhao and other researchers that helped within 2019. More women often experience anxiety disorder compared to men as well, and 15% of women will suffer from an eating disorder by their 40s and 50s, but only 27 receive any treatment for this specific disorder, according to the National Association of Anorexia Nervosa Associated Disorders. And if we are to become more specific, within a population of females, female athletes are twice as likely to engage in eating disorder behavior than male athletes. However, both men at 77% and women at 80% participating in a weight-dependent sport report using compensatory behaviors. So, what is the gender difference in for male? According to the National Institute of Mental Health, the prevalence of several mental disorders is lower in males than women, but this does not account for the fact that men cannot suffer from a mental disorder. Likely, according to the Center for Disease and Control and Prevention, ADHD, attention deficient hyperactive disorder, is higher in men, along with suicide rates. The Center for Disease Control in this 2018 report rates of suicide for males ages 25 to 44 to be at 27.5% and 21.6%. Again, men are able to be diagnosed with a mental disorder, but what stops them from seeking help? Well, though the study is outdated up to 2025, there are three subjects that can stop them: masculinity, stigma, and seeking help as a norm. Leah Weinerman of 2005 of the American Psychological Association, reported three subjects as to why males typically do not seek mental health treatment: masculinity. A male would not have to admit to confessing that he requires his service in reliance on professional assistance for his mental stability, in which would require emotional expression and openness. This may require the male to go against traditional ideas of masculinity, persona, dominance, control, and emotional stability. Stigma being the second, in which men would avoid mental health treatment due to issues of being treated differently or perspectives of being diagnosed with a mental health disorder. This could remove their masculine approach and overall character. Seeking help as norm. So, a social norm for men. Certain men may find seeking help as a weakness. This may not be a normal outlook or approach of stability. They may want to just tough it out instead. The race and ethnicity presentation will focus on the demographics of Pierce County, Washington, along with the current admission and readmission contrasts of Washington State. The demographic will exhibit the race and ethnicity at a county and state level and national level, along with the mental health demographics associated. So, as I said, there will be a Washington State Mental Health Service report. This is the highest rate of percentage of this report in which clients were served among the psychiatric hospitals. Occurring was the white population with the highest 57.9%, followed by the Black and African American population of 17.4%. Clients were served at 15.8% of Hispanic and 74.5% were non-Hispanic. Again, this report does reflect a compiled data report and is annual of their application for community mental health. These compiled data constitutes the Uniform Reporting System, again a URS. The URS is comprised of 21 tables that are developed by SAMHSA in association and consultation with the states, including Washington as well. Pierce County, Washington's demographic and race and ethnicity. These categories for race and ethnicity origin are reported by the United States Census Bureau. The white alone population and non-Hispanic or Latino population represents the highest within Pierce County, Washington. Demographically, white alone population has an impressive rate of 72.5% compared to the not Hispanic or Latino population of 63%. American Indian, Alaska Native alone, and Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander are below 2%. The two populations hold the lowest rate for Pierce County, Washington. The rate of emergency department visits is an example of demographic treatment. It exhibits the anxiety and depression rate decreasing during the first two trimesters of 2001, in which the COVID-19 pandemic occurred. This decrease can be associated with the COVID-19 quarantine limitations, increasing vaccination accessibility, along with medical influences of the double pandemic, meaning if you received the flu and COVID-19. People who identify with more than one race white, and American, Indian, Alaska Native consistently had the highest rates of emergency department visits from anxiety and depression compared to other races. Moving forward, we're going to speak about mental health and minorities in general. Please keep in mind SMI stands for serious mental illness. The American Psychological Association states the following: within SMI population, racial and ethnic minorities experience mental health disparities related to access, utilization of services, diagnosis, and outcomes. The vulnerabilities for minorities can be listed as the following: the use of psychiatric emergency services rather than community services, involuntary hospitalization. This can be a result of seeking care instead of receiving direct care from a provider. Emergency treatment as well after receiving interaction from law enforcement. Overdiagnosis of a common disorder that could be wrongfully considered because it could be something as schizophrenia, but you may have another disorder. Higher doses of antipsychotic medication, individuals that are less likely to obtain services due to a co-occurring depression. Again, these are the vulnerabilities of minorities in general. 2021 National Survey of Drug Use and Health by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration provides the frequency of any mental illness among adults. The age range remained between 18 to 25, 26 to 49, and 50 plus years old. Among the race and ethnicity demographic, two or more races were found to be more prevalent of AMI, which is any mental illness, and Asian population rated the lowest for AMI. So here we are going to become more specific to certain populations. We are going to begin to speak about American Indian Alaska Native adults and their association with the mental illness and the risk factors. We'll move forward with the Black population, other populations as well, in their association. So common mental health disorders for American Indian and Alaska Native is post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use disorder, and suicide as well. They have higher rates of mental disorders and psychiatric diagnosis such as post-traumatic, substance use, and suicidal behaviors compared to other ethnic and racial groups, according to researchers Kwan and Sabati, as defined in a recent study. Risk factors associated with this general population is death, threatened death, warfare, sexual violence, high exposure to violence, substance use disorder, experienced trauma, such as physical or sexual abuse, pre-existing psychiatric disorder, or combat experience. Moving forward, we will focus on African American health. According to the 2021 National Survey on Drug Use and Health and Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration of 2023, 21% of Black and African Americans report having a mental illness compared to 23.9% of non-Hispanic whites. Black Americans have similar rates of substance abuse disorder, 17%, as non-Hispanic whites as well, though they do have a higher prevalence of illicit drug use and unmet treatment needs of 16.4%. Suicide was the third leading cause among death for African Americans 10 to 24 years old and African American men ages 25 to 34 years old, according to researchers Curtin and Hedgard of 2021. Associated risk factors included social connections such as marital status, family connections, economic status being poverty level, culture, previous notions of suicide ideation or depression, and racism and discrimination in general. Moving forward, we focus on the Asian American Pacific Islander and their mental health. According to the Office of Minority and Health 2019, Asian American Pacific Islanders have reported fewer mental health disorders compared to the non-Hispanic whites and other racial and ethnic groups, though roughly 2.7 million Asian American Pacific Islanders have a diagnosed mental health and/or substance use disorder. The Asian population are less likely to seek services compared to other racial and minority groups, though 3 times less likely to access the services as well. There can be impacts and influences associated with these reasons, such as the foreigner's type, in which they do not communicate in English language, communicating to a person in such a way such as, where are you from? How do you say this term in their language? The art of assumption is a primary factor for them. Trauma, in which we have defined in a few slides, for persons who are firstborn of their generation can be conflicting subjects relating to their trauma, and traumatic events can conflict with them receiving or treatment. Stigma and expectations, the AAPI, are less likely to attempt mental health services due to the lack of support and emotional expression, such as guilt and shame. Attitudes and languages, limited knowledge of mental health, and not being able to speak the language. Next, we will move forward with the Hispanic and Latino population. They also encounter health conditions in which almost 22% of Hispanic and Latino Americans have a mental health condition. In contrast to non-Hispanic whites, Americans are outweighed in relation to mental health services. Overall, the services contrast to actual condition. For example, National Survey on Drug Use and Health has reported as the third leading cause of death. Drug use is the third leading cause of death for them for ages 10 to 24 and men ages 25 to 34. They also have a list of barriers as well, such as experiencing racism, discrimination in relation to institution, language accessibilities, stigma, and when we list language accessibilities such as no interpreter or culturally competent provider as well. And with all these barriers and obstacles in which minorities face, there is research to support such evidence. For example, experience of cultural biases and discrimination, stigma with hinders to Black and Africans from seeking help, lack of cultural competency in the healthcare field, and this can pertain to particular providers as well, provider unavailability within that person's general vicinity, lack of trust within the healthcare system, and negative interactions as well with healthcare professionals. Next, we will speak on unemployment and employment. Throughout this portion of the presentation, we will focus on unemployment and employment rates within the mental health field, considering the gender difference and racial and ethnic contrast in vocational areas. The Employment Security Department reported Washington State's economy to have an increase in jobs by 2,600 in February 2024. Though this is a somewhat significant increase, remember the population Pierce County holds. There's still an unemployment rate increase of 4.7. For example, the county of Ferry reported an unemployment increase of 13.2%, obtaining the highest rate of unemployment within Washington State. The lowest unemployment rate for Washington State resides in King County at 4.2% and Snohomish County at 4.3%. Pierce County holds a medium unemployment rate, along several other counties at 6.8. The discussion will continue to cover the following topics as listed, such as Pierce County, Washington unemployment rate, Pierce County, Washington age and sex unemployment rate, gender difference, and race and ethnicity, as well as we continue to not only focus on unemployment, but employment itself. The census reporter reported an unemployment rate of 3.7 in 2023. Keep in mind this report is monthly. The rate can change monthly depending on the county and state's economy. For example, the highest rate of unemployment for Pierce County was 12% compared to Snohomish and King County. Currently, Pierce County's unemployment rate has lowered. The two defining graphs focus on ages, years, and sexes within the work field. The provided data is developed from Employment Security Department. The years range from 1990 to 2001. The genders are primarily male and female. The ages range from 14 years old to 99. The data is gathered from the Employee Security Department of 2022 in specific. The first graph displays the male population in which the data exhibits employed males through the years 1990 to 2021. The colored legend at the bottom indicates which age population dominates the displayed trend. For example, males ages 19 to 21 remained at the bottom throughout the years, though the employed individual males, this age population appeared in lower numbers compared to the other age groups. Male ages 65 and older and 55 to 64 obtained a high population of employment. Counter to the male population graph, the female graph imitates the same format. Utilizing the same years, ages, and contrast to gender, the female population also displays females 65 and older to be the highest employed population for age, though the lowest unemployment as well. Pierce County, Washington also has a strong gender employment difference. According to the Employment Security Department 2022, Pierce County, Washington gender difference is well distinguished in the occupational field. According to the Employee Security Department in 2020, males held 48.3% of jobs and females held 51% of occupations in 2020. The male population dominated the work field within certain areas as well as females. For example, mining, construction, and manufacturing are primarily male-dominated, while females are primarily located in healthcare, education, along with social services and insurance. The data for Pierce County employment by industry, race, ethnicity of job holder has been extracted from all the data. This is live data that was included in the Employment Security Department site, in which employment is higher for the white population compared to males. The employment rate has remained at a lower rate for Indigenous and Pacific Islanders, including persons that identify with two or more races. The minority population total remained below 50,000 for unemployment. Moving forward, we have discussed the employment rate for race and ethnicity. Now we can focus on the unemployment rate. The United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics of 2001 provided a detailed graph depicting the unemployment rate nationally amongst different races and ethnicities. The unemployment rate for the different race and ethnicities for African American, for example, is 8.6, and the lowest was 4.7, along with other distinguished nationalities and races being displayed. For example, Asians were at 5.0% and Hispanics followed behind at 6.8. Moving forward, how does all this connect as far as unemployment for mental health? Does it impact it? Of course. Researchers Kate Bone from Penn State analyzed data from the National Longitude Survey of Youth consisting of over 6,000 participants. Participants were interviewed annually ages 27 to 49 relating to the number of weeks they remained employed, unemployed, or out of work. They participated in a questionnaire about their physical and mental health, and we were found that they had a stronghold of depression and anxiety. Trajectories range from consistently low, decreasing, and persistently high. 70% of the sample contained participants who experience the least unemployment at every age. 18% within the decreasing mid-career of the sample experienced most of their employment before the age of 35. Persistently high remained 12% and included participants who were most likely to be unemployed all across the ages within this study. Characteristics associated were lack of insurance, particularly health, smoking, and lack of physical activity, all affecting their mental health. Now we will focus on educational level. We will discuss the current education position of Washington State. What is the highest level of education on average for Washington State residents? We will also discuss the highest level of education obtained in Pierce County, Washington as well. What is the average level of education obtained? A bachelor's, a master's, and we will also focus on the racial aspect of it all. Washington State's education, according to the United States Census Bureau of 2023, reported Washington State residents with a high school diploma or higher at 76%. This report reflects well for persons who are 25 years and older, obtaining a high school degree or higher between 2018 and 2020. And the progression in Washington education has been well displayed, in which adults 25 years and older obtain a bachelor's degree or higher at 24% as well. Moving forward, we will discuss the census reporter for education. The census report of 2022 displayed dissimilar results for Pierce County, Washington residents, in which 26.8% of Pierce County, Washington residents have obtained a high school degree, and 18.6% of Pierce County, Washingtons have obtained a bachelor's degree as well. The highest level of education for Pierce County, Washington residents remained at some college level, which is 35.3%. Education level average for race and ethnicities in the United States. Nationally, the education system can impact everyone differently. Race and ethnicity is a primary subject due to treatment, services, and possible accessibility, along with other subjects that can impact a person's ability to learn. Due to these matters, certain races and ethnicities may receive better education compared to others. The National Center of Education Statistics of 2019 reported white population to obtain a higher rate of education for bachelor's compared to other minority population at 35%, though in other areas the white population appeared to become second to the minority population. For example, the white population remained second, along with the American Indian Alaska Native population, for an associate's degree, though less than a high school degree was obtained by a Hispanic population of 33%. The National Center of Education Statistics continues to report in 2019 the rate difference of race and ethnicities that did not complete their high school degree. In 2019 to 2016, the Hispanic community continued to hold the highest rate of 38 to 33%. American Indian followed second at 20 to 17%. White population displayed the lowest numbers. Education and gender difference in the United States followed in favor for females. For example, in fall 2021, female students made up 58% of the total undergraduate population for enrollment compared to males at 42%. The total number reported by the National Center for Education Statistics for females is 8.9 million compared to students is 6.5 million. The number of male students enrollment reduced by at least 17% compared to females that came 4% lower at 13%. Education and mental health, according to a Cohen study along with associated partners, developed a study to determine the connection between low education, fulfillment, and depression. Methods utilized was an applied general linear log and national longitudinal survey of youth of 1979 cohorts. Findings and results indicated educational expectation in adolescents, but no low educational aspirations was associated at a higher risk of depression at the age of 24. The participant and population sample was over 4,000, and results indicated that 16.2% had depression at the age of 40, and at the age of 25, 66.5% were high school graduates, 24.2% graduated from college, and 9.3% did not complete high school. Depression was linked to those who had less education, parents who also had a less education themselves. Moving forward in the lower education associated with mental health, Dr. Nicola Williams of 2023 examines the association between education and mental health, in which the different levels of education can be associated with a person's mental health, but this higher education impacted mental stability. In contrast, the consequence of a lower education can lead to poor socioeconomic status, in which she had found. Lower education is associated with a lack of psychological resources, such as a sense of control, resilience, the ability to delay gratification, and access to cultural activities and exposure to more day-to-day stressors. The next section we will focus on is poverty levels. We will focus on not only state, but we will focus on county and exampled cities such as Tacoma. The census reporter reported 10% of Washington state residents' population residing below the poverty line. Impressively, only 11.4% of Washington residents reside in poverty, while 88.6% are considered non-poverty. Considering the age difference, the majority of children under the age of 18 do not reside in poverty compared to non-poverty. Seniors over the age of 65 display similar results, in which seniors are at only 9%. At a county level, the census report reported Washington state residents to live below the poverty line at 8.9% exactly. Children under the age of 18 reside at 10%, while seniors over the age of 65 are at 8%. Overall, the poverty rate is 9.9%, with the remaining poverty level to be 90.1% for non-poverty. Next, we will focus on an example of one of the cities within Pierce County, Washington, being Tacoma. Though Tacoma is a city within Pierce County, Washington, Tacoma also has a high poverty line for children under 18, being that of 15%, and seniors over the age of 65 at 13%. Their overall poverty line is 14.2%. Moving forward in discussion of poverty, we ask ourselves, how is it associated with poverty? How is poverty associated with mental health? Well, Center for Disease Control and Prevention developed a report following the factors associated with mental illness, comparing the occurrence in mental distress amongst adults with and without disabilities, selecting the demographics such as age, sex, race, ethnicities, marital status, employment status, sexual identity, federal poverty level, urban, rural, and location. The Center for Disease Control reported 26.2% of the U.S. adults who responded to the questions of the CDC pertaining to disability and mental stress have a disability. For example, 1/3, 32.9%, reported mental distress within this report. Keep in mind, one of the demographics was rural area, and it was also poverty level. As you can see in the listed squares displayed above for the screen, each factor is associated with poverty and mental health and the overall impact. For example, in the first square to your left, Nifton L. and Inglis of 2020 reported poverty is both a cause of mental health problems and a consequence. Poverty in a childhood among adults can cause poor mental health through social distress, stigma, and trauma. Below this, we have an adults living below federal poverty level reported mental distress, 70% more often than did adults in higher income households. This is by the same set of researchers. To our right at the bottom, in a blue square, we have the Center for Disease Control reporting difficulties becoming frequent for unmarried females, unemployed individuals, and people who identify in the LGBTQIA+ community have low income, suffering from mental difficulties. In the last square above the blue square to your right, associated with adverse childhood behaviors as well, such as drinking and smoking. Next, we will discuss the divorce rate in Pierce County, Washington. The divorce rates within Pierce County, Washington will focus on the trend along with Pierce County's highest divorce rate. Finally, we will discuss the mental health impact on couples and divorce rates as well. Washington State Department of Health 2023 reported a decline in Pierce County, Washington's divorces. The divorce rate total number per 1,000 population graph line displays the data gathered from Pierce County, Washington's numbers. The years range from 2000 to 2001. The lowest rate of divorces occurred in 2022, complementing the marriage rate increase. Moving forward, we discuss the American Psychological Association 2023 reporting factors associated with mental health and divorce rate couples, such as loneliness, reduction in self-esteem, insecurity, increased anxiety, and depression. Next, we will speak about different types of marriages, including same-sex marriages, interracial marriages, along with their rate increase. The displayed graphs positioned to the right side of the screen distinguish data from the United States Census Bureau website, in which researchers Hernandez-Jemez of 2003 utilized for research of the same-sex couple households and interracial couples. The years range from 2008 to 2022, focusing on married same-sex couples and married interracial couples within this time frame. According to Hernandez and Jemez 2023, about 31% of married same-sex partners were interracial in 2022. The population appeared higher in contrast to opposite-sex partners, also interracial at 19%. The interracial couple households were also common among same-sex couples at 34%, contrast to opposite household couples at 29%. The progressive increase in same-sex partners in married households expressed diversity and substantial movement within the marriage subject. Washington State divorce and marriage rate by the Census Reporter narrows down the marriage rate by state, providing a clear perspective as to how Washington State compares to the United States nationally. The Census Report of 2022 provides different categories of relationships such as married, widowed, never married, gender, etc. For example, the current marital status for persons married in Washington State is 52% overall. By gender, the females who are now married are 51% and males are now 53%. Widowed males are the lowest in marital status at 2.2%. We'll now focus on an example of married couples within Washington. Researchers Washington Walker of 2022 for the United States Census Bureau composed a national report to comprehend the increase and decrease in Black marriages throughout the U.S. The displayed map is a source that the United States Census Bureau had comprised of data collected from 2005 to 2009. United States Census Bureau's American Community Survey of 2015-2019 as well. Washington and Walker found that Washington state is one of the few states to exhibit an increase in black marriages by 0.3%. And as you can see with other listed states, these are the states that, according to Washington and Walker of the United States Census Bureau, experienced a significant decline in percent of marriages for black couples, such as California, Maryland, New York, Tennessee, and Texas. The following graph is displayed by the Washington State Department of Health of 2023. The data exhibits the total number of marriages per 1,000 population within Washington State between years 2000 and 2022. Pierce County, Washington appeared to have a similar trend between 2000 and 2014. A noticeable decrease in marriage rates occurred between 2015 and 2016. Increasing in 2017. The lowest rate appeared in 2020. Since we have been talking about marriages and unmarried individuals and divorce rates, a question can come to mind such as couples and marriage therapy. Does it work? The answer is yes. Couple therapy has proven to become prevalent and tactful for married couples. According to Well Marriage Relationship Statistics 2024, nearly 49% of married couples report attending counseling together at some point in their relationship. The progression of couples reporting assisting in therapy for their relationship has displayed a substantial number. The success rate has also received compliments to those who seek assistance for their relationship. LeBeau and partnering researchers reported a success rate of 70% for couples utilizing this assistance. Next, we will talk about marital status for those who are unmarried. The population will focus and remain on focus for Washington State and Pierce County, as well as we discuss the current rate of this particular population. As previously displayed, this census reporter data displays the marital status of Washington State and Pierce County as well. The data displayed demonstrates more unmarried males at 36.5% than unmarried females at 28.5%, developing a difference of 9%. The unmarried population have a higher population compared to certain marital populations, such as divorced males, divorced females, and widowed population. Next, we will focus on the discussion of household factors and influences. The topic connects well to mental health impacts due to the negative attribution that may influence and/or affect an individual, leading to mental illness. Each household is different, and each environment within the household is different, based on culture, parenting styles, characteristics, marital statuses, and more. Therefore, it is important to take into consideration the dynamics of the household, along with the lack of connection, lack of emotional support, exposure, and/or substance use as well, and other negative impacts that may influence people and within the household. These are the areas in which we will discuss based on the evidence-based research and data gathered from researchers Luvera and her partnered associates of 2023 and the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The first subject will be family conflict, lack of warmth, and difficulty expressing emotions. The population of sample was 125 students ages 18 to 25. The methodology provided was a cross-sectional descriptive approach utilized to collect medical information, which was the medical records of the students, information pertaining to university students who attended the mental health consultations. They obtained this information with consent, and this was based between January 1st, 2018 to December 2018. Results of the gender differences included 63 students were to have severe mental health problems, 61 at 48% associated mental illness with family problems during this study. The associations included lack of knowledge about parents, economical concerns, unfaithful actions of parents, communication issues within the family, and domestic violence, and overall family connections and conflicts. Next, we focus on the household environment, such as poor mental health within the parents themselves. This is a CDC study. The purpose of the study focuses on the association between the caregiver, such as a parent or guardian, and mental health by within that person as well. The methodology and population. The report was configured and provided by the National Survey of Children's Health of 2016 and 2018, composed of parent reported data of over 97,000 U.S. children ages 0 to 17. Results and findings indicate that children with male guardians who have poor mental health are more likely to obtain poor mental health themselves. This result mirrored the same from female guardians as well. The Center for Disease Control Prevention of 2022 defines different household environments in which contributing factors can develop mental illnesses and substance use, such as mishandling prescription drugs, utilization of drug injections, students consuming prescription drugs without a provider's prescription, leading them to illegal acts, such as becoming victims of trauma, substance use connected to sexual actions, physical violence, domestic violence, high risk of associated poor parenting. All in all, household environment in all has associated risk factors in which we can all connect to mental illness, such as poor parenting, parental substance use, family history of substance use, family rejection of sexual orientation or gender identity, and child sexual abuse in connection to mental health. The next section is a significant factor attributing to mental illness. Data is provided by the domestic violence statistics, in which all several arrows are provided with the information as listed, such as victims of domestic violence are 3 times more likely to meet the criteria of PTSD. Victims of domestic violence are 3 times likely to be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. Victims of domestic violence are 3 times more likely to have a suicidal thought or 4 times more likely to attempt a suicide act. Victims of domestic violence are 3 times more likely to engage in self-harming behavior. And victims of domestic violence are 2 times more likely to develop symptoms and depression and 3 times more likely to develop major depression. Due to these obvious impacts and actions of domestic violence, victims of domestic violence have developed PTSD and are more likely to develop other anxiety disorders as well. Next, we will discuss the political impact in relation to mental health as well. Washington Secretary of State Elections Division of 2024 reported different stress levels and mood changes during the 2016 presidential election. A study composed of 85 participants completed a 14-day daily diary tracking and reporting the participants' mood, stress, and mental health results. The participants were assessed before and after the election. A multi-level model was utilized to reveal the immediate increase in participants' anxieties, stress, and poor sleep quality throughout the day after the election. Other actions revealed negative emotions such as fear, discrimination, and anger. This topic will focus on the current numeric population of U.S. veterans within Pierce County, Washington State in general. This topic will also cover the mental health effects of the U.S. veterans, along with the most prevalent mental health disorder in the veteran population. According to the NESARC-3 survey composed of over 3,100 veterans among the total participants, The lifetime prevalence of PTSD among veterans is 7%. This is the leading mental health disorder in the veteran populations. Female veterans are appear to have a higher lifetime of PTSD prevalence at 13% compared to males at 6%. The survey revealed a lifetime prevalence of PTSD for U.S. veterans, especially for younger veterans. For example, veterans younger than 65, 15%, ages 18 to 29, compared to those veterans of 65 years older, have a higher prevalence. Service members are exposed to traumatic events during war combat, creating a lifetime of threatening situations, injuries, accidents. Civilians living in war zones are also at risk for such trauma. The National Veteran Suicide Prevention Annual Report 2023, provides insight to suicide mortality among veterans and non-veterans of the U.S. between 2021 to 2022, or 2001 to 2021. The data presented shows the statistical outline as provided by the National Veterans Suicide Report. For example, in 2021, over 6,300 veterans died by suicide and 114 more than in 2020. Suicide remains the 13th leading cause of death for veterans, second leading cause of death for veterans under the age of 45. The age-adjusted rate of suicide among women veterans increased by 24.1%. The Census Report of 2022 displays the current population of veterans within Washington state at 7.7%. The data also exhibits the different categories of veterans such as World War II, Korea, Vietnam, etc. The highest population of U.S. veterans residing in Washington state are Vietnam veterans at over 159,203. The lowest population is World War II veterans at 3,359. The total number of the U.S. veterans reported are 469,565, the majority being male. Currently in Pierce County, Washington, according to the U.S. Census Reporter, there are 72,799 total veterans within the Pierce County, Washington. Majority of the veterans are male, 62,627 to be exact. The highest population of the veteran types are Gulf War of 2001, and the lowest population is World War II. Finally, we will focus on the youth. This topic will discuss and revolve around the generation of youth ages 0 to 18 years old. Center for Disease Control and Prevention utilized a national survey of youth children's health to define the occurrence and constructive indicators for children's mental health and to comprehend the quantity of children diagnosed with mental disorders. Parents and guardians identified signs of mental health pertaining to their children and in any diagnosis their child had received from a child care provider. For example, what is the most common health disorder in children? And according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention of 2023, the common health disorder within children are ADHD, anxiety problems, behavioral problems, and depression are the most diagnosed. Below between is listed the common ones from the CDC for ages 3 to 17. For example, ADHD is 9.8% common, anxiety 9.4%, behavior 8.9%, and depression at 4.4%. Youth and mental health over time. In 1 in 6 U.S. children ages 2 to 18, 17.4% had a diagnosed behavioral developmental disorder, according to the CDC of 2023. Diagnosis of ADHD and anxiety and depression increase with increased age. Therefore, over time, children are growing with their disorders as well. For example, the highest one is anxiety of ages 12 to 17, associated with behavioral disorders of 6 to 11 years old. Youth in Pierce County, Washington. The Census Reporter chart displays the current age range for youth within Pierce County, Washington. Currently, youth between ages 0 to 19 account for 12.4% of the Pierce County, Washington population, while youth ages 10 to 19 account for 12.5%. Statewide, this United States Census Bureau reported persons under the ages of 5 rate 5.5%, and persons under 18 are 21.1%. The final aspect of the presentation will focus on the youth in Pierce County, Washington, along with ways to approach their mental health. The Tacoma Pierce County Department of 2018 defines different strategies to help communicate to children in mental health crises, such as being honest with the child, practicing active listening before an immediate response, allowing the child space and time to process thoughts, and utilizing any type of licensed or registered certified professional to assist. Thank you for your time and thank you for your patience in listening. I hope this was knowledgeable and helpful in any way. Here are the listed sources, and have a good day.